The following is a presentation of the Force Center podcast feed.
As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there, and welcome to Force Center Presents Databank Dive. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
I'm Napzok. This is the show where we, as the title would suggest, dive into the databanks on StarWars.com, maybe go to Wookieepedia. What we're doing is celebrating the wild, weird, and wondrous parts of Star Wars, maybe focusing on a character, a species, a ship, a land, a planet, something. And sometimes the results are a bunch of laughter at a character we love but don't talk about, or maybe we find the deep side that is hidden beneath the surface. We did a first season of this on the Companion Sci-Fi app. You can check it out by going to the Companion Sci-Fi app, a great place for sci-fi and fantasy fans. All right, Joseph, you got the helm today. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm going to take us on a perhaps wild, perhaps slow ride. We will find out. I love our W's here, the wild and the weird. You've added wondrous. It'll be fun to decide which of those W's applies to this topic. We are courting controversy by discussing the customized Grav Scoot. Are you a Star Wars fan saying, what are you talking about? What is a customized Grav Scoot? That is perhaps understandable because I did not know that was the title. I had it in my mind, hey, you know what? It might be fun to talk about those speeders in Book of Boba Fett, the colorful ones that caused a lot of strong opinions. I'm going to Google that. Hey, I'm having a hard time finding them. Hey, what are they called? Turns out they're called Grav Scoots. Which just to me begins the fun of this episode. Ken, that's my first question before we even get into the databank information. How do you feel about the fact that these are not a certain kind of speeder? I mean, I guess they're the subcategory of speeders. They are a speeder, but it's not like they're the X-37 speeder. Like they're a Grav Scoot. How do you feel about that?
It makes a lot of sense there. I'm so excited I hit my microphone here because I'm just like, I'm chomping at the bit to discuss these. I think that Grav Scoot makes them priced to go. They're affordable. That's what I hear when I hear that. You get yourself a Grav Scoot. What model? Yeah. No, you just need a Grav Scoot. They're customizable.
Yeah, they're not a land speeder. They're a Grav Scoot. I think what I loved about it is Grav Scoot sounds like the name of a Star Wars character, not the name of a vehicle.
Okay. Yes.
And, you know, a huge part of what people struggled with about these is the central chase that the Grav Scoots are involved in with the mod characters chasing the mayor's major domo is not the fastest, most electrifying Star Wars chase ever committed to film. I enjoy it, but I admit it's not the most fast and thrilling chase ever. And there was something in hearing the name Grav Scoot. It made me in my headcanon go, these aren't supposed to be fast. These aren't supposed to be lightning, death-defying speeds through the woods of Endor. Their name is literally Scoot. When you think of how fast you can possibly go, do you think Scoot? You know, is the car in the movie Grease called Greased Scoot? No, Scoot is not a fast word. That's what a cat and the dogs do to clean themselves on a carpet, you know?
We're getting to butt scoots already. Love it.
So I was just really electrified by, I mean, Grav is great. It defies gravity. Great. Spacey. Great. But Scoot seems to answer and maybe even perhaps annoy further people's concern about the speed of these devices.
Oh, that's that's interesting. Some of this might harden people's hearts even more towards the Grav Scoot. I do want to share this. You and I, originally this show was conceived with we would completely 100% surprise each other, which is how you used to do Databank Brawl. I would not know until I had the choices in front of me. And then we just production reasons, we were doing this to the companion. We felt we should know at least a little bit. And so you sent me over the rundown, and you had said in your email, here's what I'm going for. I'm going with the controversy with the scooters. So I knew that, right? I opened it up and I saw Grav Scoot as your header. And I went, who's that guy? This morning I was sipping my coffee, so maybe I needed a little bit more. Then I went to Wookieepedia and I couldn't find Grav Scoot. So I just copied and pasted customized Grav Scoot. from your actual rundown. And that's when I found him. And I was like, I'm an idiot. He literally told me this is what he's doing, but I so didn't know that was the name. I thought it was like a bartender.
Grav Scoot, the bartender. Maybe he teaches like humanities at Coruscant University. Professor Grav Scoot. Yeah. Oh, I'm so delighted to know that you had that confusion as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the actual databank entry. And as we often say here on Force Center, Databank Dive in particular, because we're having fun, we know some people don't like it. You are, of course, have every right to your opinion. I love these things. I'm going to make fun of them, and I'm going to celebrate them, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Here's what the StarWars.com databank has to say about customized Grav Scoots. Swift and sleek gray scoots are heavily customized rides with intense metal flake paint jobs that make them stand out. So we get a lot in that. We get that they come factory made is gray, swift and sleek. So I don't know if maybe like the salesperson for Grav Scoots wrote this entry, but I don't think they're necessarily that fast. They're called Scoots, swift and sleek, but they come gray and then are indeed customized, which is suggested in the show. But how do you feel about having that confirmed that they come off the factory floor, dull, boring gray, and then these characters go nuts?
It makes me kind of love these things in a way I hadn't previously thought of. That it's like the generic Mighty Mug where you can paint it and design your own, right? Or it's a generic figure. It's something that I really like that. I like that idea. And it also shows that the maker of the Grav Scoots really know their audience.
Yeah. And it's up for grabs if it's like, look, these are not supposed to be, tearing through town. These aren't for youth. These are for, maybe Jira from the Phantom Menace used these to get around, right? When the storms are coming, Annie. Maybe that's the intention. They're gray. They're not trying to stand out. They're not trying to be flashy. And then the mods are like, we're going to take this and subvert it, right? It could be that. Or it could be more like miniatures. We're like, here's the deal. It's cheaper for us, and you can claim your individuality by painting them.
First of all, can we go back to you just painted these as figuratively as a retirement community vehicle?
Yeah.
There is a place in Southern California down near Seal Beach, which is I think it used to be called Leisure World. It might have changed. It is the king of kings retirement communities, and it's like a city. And you go down. I used to go down there. A relative lived down there for a while. Then actually a coworker of mine. I went to a Filipino wedding there that he threw. And you have to be careful when you're driving your car because you're about to run over little golf carts everywhere of all these retirees running to and fro. So I think the Grav Scoot is a perfect thing for that in Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my headcanon, that they start out that way. Maybe they don't have all those rear view mirrors. Maybe they're even souped up by the mods to go even faster than they're meant to. And that's why they're called Scoots. Yeah. Love it. So Wookieepedia was a really fascinating adventure. So obviously, Databank is just kind of a straightforward description for the most part. We can infer some things, but you go to Wookieepedia and I was like, we'll get more. I failed at finding them on Wookieepedia because I did a general Google search of Wookieepedia customized Grav Scoots. Nothing came up. I went to the pages of the individual mod characters. I went to the descriptions, the entries for the Book of Boba Fett episodes, and the hyperlink that was there was just speeders. The mods use speeders, and it linked to the just real general. There are speeders of all kinds in the Star Wars galaxy Wookieepedia page. And Ken, you have recently learned some deep Wookieepedia arts and helped me find the entry.
Yeah, long story short, I'm doing some work for Fandom where I'm in a lot of the wikis and writing trivia questions and everything and pulling information. And it's very tricky. You think you've hit a dead end, but maybe you haven't. Always try another way.
There's always more. So once again, help me get to the actual page for customized Grav Scoots. There was only one extra sentence, and it was this. Grav Scoots were used by the mods to chase a major domo in the streets of Most Espa. Drash, the leader of the mods, used her scoot to ride over a building before landing on the major domo's land speeder. Just exactly what you saw in the show.
Yeah, I love Wookieepedia, and occasionally the databank just describe what you watched.
Do you remember? Did you see that? That's what happened. Okay, Ken, here's my question about this. Is there a Grav Scoot conspiracy going on? There is a stub that exists, right? But you have to search for it. It's on not the dark web, but it's on the dark Wookieepedia. You can only find it if you're looking for it. It is not linked where it should be linked. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, no, this might be. We have to look into this here. And I'll tell you what, who probably did it. That Major Domo. I think he went in there, or maybe a fan of that Major Domo.
And he edited it. He didn't want the absolute shame to know that he was defeated by Grav Scoots.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so that's all we have to go on, which is not much. So we'll have to rely mostly on our emotions and imagination as we get into really discussing and riffing on these wild, weird, wondrous vehicles. Ken, how would you physically describe customizable Grav Scoots?
All right. You take a Vespa from our modern world, you remove the wheels, add a bunch of mirrors, paint it the color you want, and voila, you got it. All right. It sounds like I'm being snarky, but that's kind of the simple genius of it all. It is what it is. We're going to get into what that probably represents. I'm going to click on a picture to get a little closer there. You got, some nice, comfortable, perhaps leather or pleather seating. Not really much of on most of them. They don't have a lot of backrests here. I would describe all of them as having ample room for your feet on the floorboard. Simple controls, not unlike riding your BMX bike through the neighborhoods in the 80s. It kind of looks like that as well. I see brake handles as well. So easy to control, I would imagine. No windshields, unless maybe you want to add that. But all the pictures I'm looking at, they do not have windshields. So be careful. Who knows what bugs are flying into your mouth on Mos Espa.
Are you selling customized Grav Scoots? Because that was a great and detailed analysis.
Come on down. Perhaps that was Willie in Andor. That's what he sells. He's a door-to-door Grav Scoot salesman.
Yeah, in later times, after the entire Galactic Civil War, he moves away from boosters and he gets on to Grav Scoots. Obviously, they are highly linked to the Vespas of the real world. They are Vespas that don't touch the ground. They are not even as exaggerated as I thought they were. I am a big fan of the band The Who, in particular, Quadrophenia. But I had one of those things in life where somebody, when I was extremely young, told me that the movie based on the album Quadrophenia is real bad. And I just believed that person for years and years like a fool. So then this came out and everybody's like, yeah, they're from Quadrophenia in particular. So I watched the movie and hey, what do you know? It's amazing. I bought it on the Criterion Collection, physical media. Love the film. Amazing film. And if you even just Google scooters from Quadrophenia, the scooters, the Grav Scoots in Book of Boba Fett, are not that exaggerated from their influence. The ones in Quadrophenia from real human Earth, Britain, have all these extra rear view mirrors. They have all of these extra headlights. They have all of this flash and modification. It's not exactly the same, but sometimes Star Wars is like, we've been inspired by this in the real world. And you can be like, oh, I can kind of see that. And other times you're like, we kind of took this and took the wheels off of it and put it in space. And that's what we're dealing with the Grav Scoots. Yeah.
And I think that's okay. We're so focused sometimes on Star Wars influenced by Westerns or, samurai films or this is the mods. Yeah. That's something to fit into Star Wars.
And if I was trying to just capture the spirit of it, and I know this is a part of what people didn't like, and that's just fine, I would say the customizable Grav Scoot is a Skittle if it was a vehicle and it enjoyed rock and roll of the 60s.
That's great. I love that.
That's what it is. Very bright, very colorful. Ken, for you, what is the magic of Grav Scoots and what do they add or contribute to the legend of Star Wars? Or do they take away?
I'll start here. I would never call these like my favorite thing in Star Wars, but it's one of those things that I tell you what, the more you attack it out there, the more I start to defend it and want one and want to collect them all if they were to release these as toys. There's just something about it that I just love. I think it's very simple. It really feels New Hope-y. Now we'll get into maybe the paints and the colors and everything, but I think there's obviously great meaning in that and what they decided to do with that and what they're pulling from mod culture, which, as you said, 60s all the way up to, I'm a big fan of the band The Jam and Paul Weller's The Mod Father and all that kind of stuff, and what that actually represents, the change, generational change, and generations fighting back in a way. So I think it's so simple. It's New Hope, because which is American graffiti in space at times, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very generalized statement, but as Lucas has said before, Tatooine wasn't necessarily Modesto. I still kind of call nuts to that, and I think he's hidden that a little bit. And he's a car guy, right? Famously, and would have been a race car driver if not for fate and an accident. So that spirit of a vehicle and the meaning and what it means for the youth, all that kind of stuff, is a particular kind of Star Wars magic that I think when you pull back from the initial reactions and pull back from, I'll say, not one of my favorite chase sequences either. Mm-hmm. But you pull back from that and just look at the big tableau of Star Wars. This is a fun little corner, and this is built to collect, literally, and that's a certain magic too. When you see something on screen in Star Wars, and you know that you'd like to have it on your shelf. I have a weird collection of Wampas and Tauntauns. Like, I don't know why, but I'm staring at some now. I just kind of like it. I would love to have some Grav Scoots on my shelf, and there's a magic to that.
Me too. I would love to have some toys of these, or just have one. We'll talk about that. Yeah, for me, they're so clearly in line with the tradition of being thrilled by speed and racing. You know, everything from A New Hope, from Luke having his land speeder, Luke having not just a T-16 Skyhopper, but a model of one because he is so restless and wants to move fast. Han Solo's fastest ship ever that nobody thinks could be that good, to Anakin Skywalker loving racing and pod racing, and even continuing that in Attack the Clones with the joke of I couldn't come to your rescue in this chase yet, Obi-Wan, because I had to pick out a speeder I really liked, that just real interest not only in going fast, but a love of your vehicle and a maintenance and a pickiness about your vehicle. That entire culture of racing that is about the vehicle itself as well as where it can take you. I think they absolutely fall in that tradition. I think that the story of them in Book of Boba Fett is about generational change for sure, but also about a generation that just kind of feels trapped and is screaming out to be seen and heard, their perspective to be, valued. And this is, Star Wars being about individual expression to the point where, Lucas has this idea for what Star Wars is, and he struggles to communicate it to anyone really in his life. And it doesn't even get sold on the idea of what it is. It gets sold to an executive saying, I have no idea what you're talking about, George, but I trust that you're an artist who has this passionate expression that you want to put out there. Like, to me, I look at them and like, they look like, how Star Wars got sold. That's what they're about. So I think that's the magic of them to me. Mm-hmm. I am almost amused by the fact that the chase is not particularly thrilling and great. For me, it's like, it's a political leader's assistant being chased by kids on scooters. Of course, it's not. Like, I think maybe Boba Fett and Fennec are like, geez, maybe we should have just jetpacked over there and taken care of this. Trying to let the kids do something, and all right.
Feel like they're getting involved, and they are.
Let them get involved. And I think the final thing for me is I am so intrigued by the level of pure visceral dislike that people have had. And I understand that there's the aesthetic thing of like, it's been really established that this is the palette of Tatooine, right? Mm-hmm. And this extremely loud colors that disrupt that, right? Maybe they fit in on Coruscant, and maybe these kids want to bring a little bit of Coruscant to Tatooine. But it reminds me almost of being young when people had such a passionate, visceral dislike of Ewoks in 1983. And if you weren't alive, believe me, it happened.
Yeah.
And almost in the same way of like, I don't mind them. I get how they fit in the story, but they're teddy bears, and teddy bears should not be in Star Wars. There's this, they should not be energy. And that is fascinating to me because it happened in Doctor Who a few years back where a line of colorful Daleks that looked like they're there to sell came out, and people were just like, colors, we are furious at the idea of colors, in the same Skittles jokes. And it was like, wow, there's something interesting and sensitive in our culture of like bright colors are a danger in the wrong the wrong situation.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I even if you go to our review of this episode, I think I start the episode saying, yeah, they didn't look right to me in some ways, and I started out on that journey. They're very bright. I remember I had a reaction. We talked about the history of Star Wars Rebels this week on our news show, looking back on the history of the first episodes being released, and I had a real issue with like the bright colors in that show, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, and I think I too became, I don't know if amused is the word. I was just fascinated by where people were going to war over this. And that made me start to pull back my own thoughts, and then discussing the thematic reasons for it and everything. I almost felt like it was meta, where it was like suddenly the people of Star Wars fandom really fighting the mods and their colorful scoots were exactly who the mods and their colorful scoots were fighting.
Look, those are slow scooters. They're meant to be gray. They're for old women like Jira. What are you doing? Souping them up.
Yeah, it was like some weird Star Wars dinner theater after a while, where it's like you almost hear Drash go, yeah, thank you. You are who this is our point. Thanks for making it. They don't belong, and we don't feel we belong here either.
Yep. And this is a big mash of opinions, including the not greatest ever, chase that they're in. And I think another big part of their magic is they are a huge swing. They do not match the aesthetic. They are disruptive to the palette of Star Wars. It's a huge swing. And I want to be sure to have full respect to anybody out there who's like, yep, I get all the thematic reasons. I get the story, and it's just an aesthetic I dislike, because that's a part of taking big swings, right? You get a big reaction when you take a big swing, and sometimes it's love, sometimes it's real dislike, and sometimes it's a mix. And I think that's really what they also represent to me, the spirit in the history of big swings in Star Wars, and they're not going to work for everybody. Yeah.
And I think that's a fair assessment of it too, of, again, not my favorite chase sequence. I wouldn't say these, are my top 5 favorite vehicles. They don't have to be. And so we understand that. Yeah, I think, and I think the extreme nature of some of the reaction to it was what just took me back and amused me.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, that's my magic, is if I was totally disconnected from social media and I watched this, I would have loved the Grav Scoots, and I did love the Grav Scoots, and I would have been just shocked at the intensity of the discourse.
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to ask some more fun questions about customized Grav Scoots. Back in a moment. And we are back to continue our discussion of the vehicle Wookieepedia is trying to hide from us. Customized Grav Scoots. That's the farthest I'm ever going to get into conspiracy, and even then, I'm joking. All right, Ken, here's a fun question. Do you think after the events of Book of Boba Fett, all of these people working together, Boba Fett bringing them together, the mods feeling like they have some stake in their town, do you think Boba Fett gets his own Grav Scoot at some point?
100%. Here's how it plays out. We have that end celebration. The city's been changed. He's the mighty daimyo, but he's more of a fair and balanced one. He's brought change to this community and culture. And he sits around, they're having maybe a party, and he goes to Drash, and he's like, can I get on one? Can I try one? And they're like, yeah. So he takes it for a spin. And he's like, whoa, it moves like a bantha. He's like really excited about this. And so he's like, he has to go get one. And that's where we next see him. He's got his own. And it's painted in Fett colors. Can you imagine one of these with Fett colors? that green and then orange.
Yep, absolutely. We went into very similar places. I think that instead of saying like a bantha, when they teach them how to write it, they're like an Eope, like an Eope. And he's like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, and I think he would appreciate how they've been souped up and that they can go up the walls. That's great. And one of the things that we learned from his appearances, Boba Fett's appearances in The Mandalorian, there's that he gets his armor back and then he walks off his ship and his armor's all fancied up. And we learn that Boba Fett is just keeping paint cans of his exact mix for his green. Yep. Right? He's got a massive stock in the ship. So, he'd go and he'd buy one. Maybe it would be given to the daimyo, who knows, at the local Grav Scoot manufacturer. It would roll off gray and he would have that paint can in his hand and just start shaking.
Oh, yeah. He'd be excited about this. Let's do this. Let's paint it. And then he'd take it out for a ride with him.
Yeah. Do you think he would think it goes fast, or after all of the adventures that Boba Fett has had, do you think he would consider the Grav Scoots kind of slow, even as souped up?
He would consider them slow. I think he has to. But I think that he's kind of at this point in my life, I'm slowing down to smell the desert space flowers. And that'd be part of what he thought is the lesson.
Yeah, I can see him just slowly rolling through Mos Espa, the streets of Mos Espa. He's proven that he can walk on his own 2 feet. So now he's just rolling on his Grav Scoot. I think he's got some big blasters attached to the sides.
Yeah, might need to.
Yeah, but he's definitely rolling in a Grav Scoot in season 2. Which other Star Wars character would you want to see riding a Grav Scoot?
Oh, I absolutely think at one point Han maybe was on one and it just didn't work. Even he was probably complaining about the colors. He probably, maybe young Ben had one. I like that Ben would have at some point known that these were a thing. And Han was trying to pressure him and to go faster. It just wouldn't work. Real cultural clash. Culture clash with Han.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love the idea that Han would try to ride one up a wall and it just tips over on him. He's like, they're garbage.
Garbage. Yeah. Garbage.
Grab, trash. Yeah, so I'd love to see that. I think I was thinking in the general Book of Boba Fett world that if they kind of become a little bit of a go-to, maybe Fennec has one, black and orange, of course, and then Chrysanthemum's like just hops on one, but he's so big and powerful, it just crashes into the ground. It just, the repulsor technology is not there for the sheer might of Chrysanthemum.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea.
And then I had 2 Jedi, because I always go to Jedi. Jarl Poof, just see the neck flying back. Just catching him like a kite.
Does that, I'm sure he's got strong neck muscles, but at what speed does Jarl Poof's neck start flapping in the wind?
Yeah, how can he let it go loose? Can he control it? Like, I'm keeping it rigid because I'm having a conversation, but I can just let it go floppy.
If he's in a land speeder, is that a no-go? Like he needs to get a Grav Scoot?
Yeah, too fast. And then the other Jedi that I would like to see doing anything and everything, but particularly for this, I would love to see Tara Sinube riding a Grav Scoot real slow to teach somebody patience, like just barely moving at all. You can barely tell with your eye it's moving.
Do you want it like on the ground, whether it be Coruscant or somewhere like here where he's there, everyone's honking and he's like, go around, but he's trying to teach people the lesson.
Yep. Just scoot through the day, enjoy the sights, enjoy the beautiful colors, and people are losing their minds.
And there's a young Jedi maybe on the back or riding their own that's like, can we go faster? He's like, why would you want to?
Why? Enjoy this the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Any other characters you'd like to see?
I mean, it's funny. You could toss almost any character on there and it's a real fish out of water. But I'll tell you who deserves one. Poplu.
Oh, yeah.
After the speeder bike incident, to get around Endor at a speed he can manage. And I'm sure Poplu would have a lot of fun.
Oh, can they go straight up a tree? Are they anti-grav? Can they go all the way up the tree into the Ewok village? That would be amazing.
A squadron of Grav Scoots driven by Ewoks going into battle.
Terrifying, utterly terrifying. And they might have theirs painted to just absolutely blend into the forest, so you don't see them coming at all.
What is that? I don't know.
So a horn mounted on a Grav Scoot. Yeah. So since the mods as characters put mechanical parts in their organic bodies, should they put organic parts on their mechanical Grav Scoots?
That's terrifying. What do you want? You want, like, instead of handlebars, you got arms?
Yeah.
That's a Star Wars horror. It's October. That's insane. I love it.
Yeah. Instead of like headlights, you have Rathtar eyeballs, like 8 Rathtar eyeballs on the front.
But, like, how do you go to the modifier and do you collect parts? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really a question of how far does that main mod who saved Fennec Shan's life, how far does his no question to ask policy go, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I rolled in there and like, hey, it's Halloween time. Let's imagine Halloween exists in Star Wars, and I say to the mod, I got this Grav Scoot, and I have all this flesh. Could you wrap my Grav Scoot in flesh? Would that be cool? Like the Necronomicon, the old famous book of horror. Could you do that for me? Would he just be like, if he got the credits, or would he be like, no, I have to call the daimyo. You're in trouble.
This is aberration. This is you've gone against the nature of things.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Fun to think about, at least for me.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are having so much fun, but we need to wrap up to keep this short and fast the way that Grav Scoots are. So we always like to make it personal into the real world. Ken, if you had a Grav Scoot, where would you use it in Los Angeles, where we both live?
I could get around Burbank kind of easily. Here's the thing: I'm terrified. I've been in those street legal golf carts before.
Street legal.
Yeah. They're the ones they've changed over the years. But if you go to like certain parts of LA, like Encino, there's a lot of people that drive around in those in Encino. But I've also been on the streets in a golf cart not built for the streets as a joke. Back in my security days, I took a 6-seater golf cart to the Del Taco drive-through at 2 a.m. And I got to tell you something. That's way more terrifying than you think. So yeah. I'd be afraid. I could get around Burbank where I live pretty easily, just the downtown. And I'd be okay with that. Other than that, I couldn't do it. Like because my old roommate had a Vespa, and he goes, I took it on the freeway just to see if I could, and he goes, it's worse. I was never been more terrified in my life. So they're not built for that. I don't think the Grav Scoots are, but getting around Burbank to my favorite Mexican restaurant, Don Cuco's, it'd be the best.
Yeah, I mean that is the fascinating thing. Like as we've said 1,000 times, that chase scene is not the best executed or fastest chase scene. Totally get it. But at the same time, I kind of watched it thinking like, what if that was me on a Vespa trying to go through downtown Los Angeles? I would be plenty scared, right? Because you're totally exposed. That said, I've been meaning to hike to the Hollywood sign but I get a little worried about the snakes. I know they're not a big problem, but there's signs up everywhere saying, be aware of snakes. And, I asked somebody, like, hey, are the snakes a problem when I first visited? And this particular person said, like, no, of course not. I mean, you have boots with metal ankles, right? And it scared me a little. So I would take my Grav Scoot up to the Hollywood sign and be snake worry free.
That's great. I love that idea.
And if you were going to mod out your car like it was a Grav Scoot, what color might you paint it? What stuff would you put on there? How would you express yourself?
So, yeah, okay, this is great because if it's a Grav Scoot, I am in the sports world. I'm a Miami Dolphin football fan. I have been for years. I don't watch football as much as I used to, but I love the colors. And the colors go together, but they're also the most garish eyesore of colors, really. I think it's this bright turquoise and this bright orange and white. And in high school, I used to have a lot of Miami Dolphin merchandise. And man, you stand out in a crowd. So, and not always in the best ways. I had some of those Zubaz pants, the striped like zebra striped pants, and I wore them in a yearbook photo. I do not know why. So I would have to do that though, because that's the spirit of the Grav Scoot. You want to stand out. You are making a statement. These colors maybe don't belong here, and they might not even belong together, but it's going to be here. So I would do a Miami Dolphin themed Grav Scoot car.
And what are the Miami Dolphin colors?
It's this tealy turquoise kind of color. I think technically teal, but man, it goes places. And a sherbet bright orange and white.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. But when they go together, but they don't.
Well, yeah, I mean,
in the context of football, they don't.
You know what? I would do a version of that. Not the teal. I would go like a dark blue and a bright glaring orange. They're two of my favorite colors, blue in particular. But then they're complementary colors. So if you put them together in the right way, they have like a fascinating rhythm, like the carbon freezing chamber. But if you put them directly next to one another, bumping up, there's friction to the human eye. And I would make all sorts of friction causing blue and orange combinations, and then I would put rear view mirrors facing away from me and a headlight facing back, so when people look at it and just go like, there's something not right, there's no logic to the way there's opposite logic to the way he's put these things on this vehicle to just make it as upsetting as possible.
That's great. All on board. All on board that.
Excellent. All right, we're going to get to our final rating. We're going to rate the wild, weird, wondrous factor of Grav Scoots. Our rating is based on one of the original Star Wars weirdos, Lobot, who would look great on a Grav Scoot. So out of 10 Lobot heads, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, how many Lobot heads do you give Grav Scoots, Ken?
The image you just created is priceless, by the way. Those sleeves flapping slowly in the wind there. Here's the thing. Star Wars fans, you see it, right? Star Wars fans would have you say it's 15 out of 10, that these are so weird that they don't belong. I think that is incorrect. I think when you pull back, look at the thematic reasons for them there, look at just the characters and their reasons for having these. At the end of the day, they're sensible speeders for cities and city folk, and they're like a 6 out of 10. It's everything else around them that might be a little bit more weird. I love them for how normal they are, but how they cause abnormal pain for folks.
Yeah. I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10 because, and just the history of vehicles, scooters, speeders, they're not that weird. If they were gray or a dark blue, they, wouldn't have caused much commotion at all. And for something that's been taken into Star Wars and Star Warsified, again, watch Quadrophenia. They're not that bonkers compared to their inspiration. And I bump them up from your 6 to a 7 because those colors, they are bright. They are unignorable and mission accomplished. Whether you like them or dislike them, mission accomplished. They have been not ignored. So I'm going full 7 Lobot heads.
Love it.
All right, we are wrapping up. You can find links to all things Force Center on our Twitter at Force Center Pod. If you're looking for YouTube, for our TeePublic, all sorts of stuff there. Ken, where can people find you?
Hey, you can go to @KenNapzok or KenNapzok.com. Link to all the cool things I do.
Okay, you should do that. And I am findable on all the social media. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw. But for now, that is us for us and the customizable Grav Scoots. This has been Databank Dive.